Today we're making blueberry muffins from scratch. We're not using a box. So what we have out here is we have sugar, flour, vanilla, egg. We have our double acting baking powder. We're using milk. You can use whole milk or we're using 2% milk for today. We have salt and then we have blueberries. And so when you're looking at the blueberries, they look a little different, but they are actually coated in flour, and we'll explain why we did that in a minute. And of course, we have butter. I've taken a pan, a muffin pan, and I've lined them already to get us going. And of course, my oven is already preheated at 375. You can ask if your oven was a little hotter or a little lower, so see where you're at with that. I have a KitchenAid, but you don't need a KitchenAid to do this. You can do it with a handheld mixer. If you don't have that, you can do it by hand, it either or. So to get this started, we're gonna take our butter and sugar, and we're gonna use a creaming method. We're gonna take that, put this in. This is about 1 cup of sugar. Make sure the bowl is secure. If you're using a KitchenAid, make sure your bowl is secure. And I'm using a paddle attachment. So I'm gonna cream this to start. This should have like a mashed potato look to it before you add anything else in. Again, creaming is adding air and distributing the fat throughout the sugar. We get that rise in our muffin. And again, once it looks like mashed potatoes, we're going to move on to the next step. Blueberries, because blueberries are coming into season, so it's nice to have a nice blueberry muffin now. So I have that mashed potato look, and it's time for us to start to add the rest of our ingredients. So I'm going to go with adding my egg, 1 egg. I'm going to mix that around. As I'm mixing, I'm checking to see that nothing is sticking to the sides of the bowl. I don't want anything sticking to the sides of the bowl because that means everything is not incorporated. I'm also going to add, at this point, my vanilla. And all the recipe for this will be found on the video. Clean this up a little bit. Now I'm going to see how that's doing. And I can see it's starting to stick a little bit, so I'm going to lower my handle down, scrape down the sides. Okay. When you're making blueberry muffins, you don't want to add so much air to it because the blueberries will drop to the bottom, so we don't want to go with so much air. We're going to add our salt now. Remember, we add salt to baking products because we still want to flavor them, much like when we flavor our meats and our pastas. And now we're going to add our baking powder. Now this, again, going back to the double acting baking powder, the first action is going to happen here, and then when we heat the baking powder, the second action is going to happen there. So we're working with milk, and we're also having flour. So the reaction is going to happen here with the milk. It's going to give it a little bit of a rise, or the CO2 action is going to happen right here. And then when we add the heat, we're going to get that second action to really pop it up because we're adding blueberries, and blueberries are going to have some weight to it with the muffins. So we need the baking powder to, boom, kind of give it that rise. So we're going to add baking powder. It's about 1.5 teaspoons. We're going to mix this. Now, after we mix this, we're gonna alternate milk and flour back and forth. At this point, it looks pretty much like a regular cookie dough, sugar cookie dough. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna alternate back and forth. We're gonna add a little bit of milk, mix it a little bit. And we're gonna be sure to add a little bit of flour. We do this because we don't want the dough to get so wet or so dry, and we want to keep it nice and fluffy. And you can see how it's doing. If it looks like the sides need to be scraped down, scrape it down. Okay. I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit more flour at this point. Notice I'm keeping the mixer on a low setting. I'm not adding a lot of air to the mix. I'm not bringing it up to 10. When you're adding flour, turn the mixer off. Flour is something that can be puffed in the air, so you want to make sure you turn the mixer off every time you add the flour. And then you add some milk. Check it out. I think at this point, I'm going to take a couple moments. Scrape down the sides. I want to make sure that everything is being incorporated. I'm going to add some more flour. Just take your time. You want to give all your ingredients a chance to work, especially that baking powder. We're good to add the rest of this. And then we add and then I'm going to check it. I'm going to do one final scrape down, make sure that everything is fully incorporated. And you can see it looks very much like typical dough. Bring it up. Just give it a run through. And you can't add the blueberries into this mix because you'll break down all the blueberries. And the thing about making a nice blueberry muffin is I'm going to bite into this nice blueberry muffin with whole blueberries, or to the best, blueberry that you can. Now, I drop the mixer down at this point so that any excess has a chance to work itself off the paddle. Don't touch it. Turn it off. Helps to get rid of any excess. Okay, scrape off this. Now, by adding flour to the blueberries, it helps to keep them kind of suspended in the mix when you fold them in. Now, folding something into a mixture just means you're gently mixing them in. You're ever so gently taking the blueberries and you're folding them in a motion that's overlapping. So we have already taken about 2 tablespoons of flour and coated the fresh blueberries. Okay, peel all the stems, or pick the stems off. First, go through your blueberries, pick the stems off. Nobody wants to bite into a stem. And then take your blueberries and put them into your muffin mix. And fold them in gently, because you don't want to break the blueberries down. And I'm kind of picking out away from the flour because I don't want to add any more flour to my mix. And gently fold them in. You should have dough muffin mix with blueberries, not blue mix. Gently scrape the sides. So once that's all done, put this aside, and this down. And we'll just start to fill your muffins. You want to fill them. Where's this guy here? Aim for the middle. You can always you can see the blueberries are kind of like suspended in there, and that's what you want. You want them throughout the muffin, not just at the bottom, not just at the top. You want them suspended throughout the whole muffin. And of course, blueberries are a nice time of the season they're coming in. You can make this, you could try to make this with other fruit. It's a basic muffin mix, so if you wanted to try it with another type of fruit. Don't overfill them. Just check and see what you have, how they look. If you're satisfied with what you have, you can put them into the oven. I think these run about 30 minutes. And what you're looking for is to put a toothpick in and for it to come out clean. So depending upon how your oven runs, you want to make sure that toothpick comes out clean. My oven can run 30 minutes, your oven can run 35 minutes. So what you're really looking for is for the toothpick to come out clean. When you place it in the center, not on the edges. The edges cook faster than than the center. Okay, we're good here. We want to clean up any kind of edges here. We don't want that. That's just going to burn. Right? Here's your blueberry muffins. Right into the oven. Set a timer for yourself, and then you'll know. So you have to clean up in between. Set a timer for yourself, and you're good to go. Okay, so now we're going to check and see how our muffins are doing. We're going to open up. Clean toothpick. Clean toothpick. Clean toothpick. We're going to come in. I'm not going to put that one on there. And there you have it, fresh homemade blueberry muffins. And you can see they pretty much stay together, and you have blueberries on the top and you have blueberries on the bottom. So they pretty much did stay blueberries all throughout the muffins.